For those dialing in today, thank you again for joining us for today's webinar, Supporting Computer Science, IT, and Technology Education, also known as CSITT, in North Carolina. My name is Micah Hardy. I'm on the marketing team here at LEGO Education, and I'm just popping on to give a few housekeeping items before I hand over to our host to bring us through the content. So if you're new to webinars or to Teams webinar, we just wanted to go over a couple of things. So first off, you'll notice if you're an attendee that you're automatically muted and camera is off. That's just to help reduce distractions for the session, but we are happy to interact and actually invite you to interact with us throughout the session by using the React function on your screen or the Q&A. So if you look at the top menu bar of the webinar, you'll notice a Q&A function on your screen. So if you click on that, a window should appear to the right. And you can click on Start a Discussion to post a reflection or a thought that you have about the content, or you can click the chat bubble to the right of Start a Discussion and change it to Ask a Question if you have a question for our host today, and we can answer that live. We may even answer it within the Q&A function. So please feel free to submit questions or reflections through the Q&A. And we'll take a look at those during and after the content today. And then finally, if you want to participate and you just kind of want to let us know how you're feeling or that you agree or disagree or resonate with something that's being said, you can click the React function on the top of your menu and send an emoji like applause to let us know how you're feeling. So feel free to do that as well. We definitely welcome your participation as we move through the session. Awesome. So with that, I'm going to hand over to our host, Holly, who's going to bring us through today's session. And thank you again for joining.
Thank you so much, Micah. Once again, good afternoon. It is an absolute pleasure to be with you this afternoon. We're going to go ahead and jump right in. But before I do that officially, wanted to make sure that we just do a brief couple of introductions on behalf of myself and the team. There is a team here to very specifically support you in the great state of North Carolina. On the call, we will also have Alicia and Brian, who are my wonderful colleagues, out here to support you in anything and everything relating to our great teaching and learning practices in North Carolina. My name is Holly Gerlach. I have the privilege of being a solution architect, so I'm going to kind of lead through the content today. But once again, there is an entire team here to support and to encourage you along the way as we get into our discussion topics for today. So to level set our conversation, first and foremost, we always like to make sure that we are addressing this piece because it is a critical part of our story and who we are. Very specifically, yes, we are part of the LEGO Group, one of the most world famous and recognized brands. However, we always like to very specifically make sure that you are aware we are LEGO Education and exactly what it is that we do. So yes, of course, we are part of the iconic LEGO Group. We do have our wonderful and amazing LEGO bricks, but how we utilize them and what it actually does for us and how we think about them in the context of learning environments is very different than what our retail colleagues do. So we always do like to make that very important distinction so you know that you are talking to a group of educators, administrators that are coming from this, not only with that real perspective of what it's like to actually utilize bricks and solutions within classroom settings, but also to understand what that looks like over time. So not just because it's really great and fun, but really, if nothing else today, the one most important part that we want to convey to you is that, yes, we have these wonderful bricks, but they are not just simply bricks. They're a medium. They're a medium to communicate ideas. We can ideate with them. We can prototype. We can showcase thoughts and ideas and feelings. We can reflect with them. So they really and truly are something that we can utilize for several different purposes and reasons. So if anything, I would like you to reconfigure your own thinking with us today to realize that what has historically always been known as a toy, in our context, it's actually a teaching and learning tool. So we're going to explain what that is going to look like in some different contexts today with you. But like I said, historically known as a toy, but for us, it's a teaching and learning tool. So we are going to walk through that with you this afternoon. So continuing on to kind of set larger context. So when we think about, computer science and IT and technology education, what does that really look like? Why is it important? And how does that really play into what it is that we're doing? So when we think about this, yes, we have students, depending on, like I said, when they come to us, how often they are with us. There's a lot of different constructs in terms of time. However, regardless of what that looks like, we know that they're here with us in these learning environments for a school journey, whatever that might end up looking like for them. We also know that we're really going to have to really focus in on what does that look like over time. So there's certain things that we can and can't account for, especially as we think and consider how much technology is rapidly changing. So how do we respond to that? But how do we also consider what's important and what does that really actually mean for us, not only in the here and now, but most importantly, as we look to the future. So when we think about this, and this is really kind of just highlighting this at a larger scale and magnitude, is we're preparing students ultimately, not just simply for the next grade level, but we're preparing them for life. And when we think about that and what their lives may evolve to or become over time, they potentially are going to be in jobs or career pathways that don't even presently exist, utilizing technologies that haven't been invented. And they're going to have to solve problems and think about different types of dilemmas that haven't even really been anticipated. So how do we take that all into consideration now, but also planning for that in a really meaningful way? Once again, knowing there's a lot of stuff happening in education. So what does that end up looking like for us? But how do we also keep a lot of this really good top line information and data at the forefront of our mind so we can make informed decisions on how to best prepare students? So this actually comes out of an amazing report. It's actually comes out of the World Economic Forum, and it's their job reset forum. They have a summit every single 5 years. They'll come all together, and it's looking at various companies, industries, Fortune 500 companies, and they really think about what does this actually look like for not only the present workforce, but what are they also anticipating in terms of needs. So this one, and it's literally just around the corner. Can you believe it? 2025 is almost upon us. But thinking about how are we really reskilling the employees that currently exist. So this actually breaks it down into different components about what is important and what is industry noticing in terms of what it is that they really want, not only from current employees, but also what they're predicting in the next 5 years for those future employees. So a lot of this should not be totally shocking, but obviously with that, we have a lot of things that are coming in as it relates to technology and how it's changing things. So taking all of that into consideration, how are we planning to move forward with what we know industry and workforce is looking for? So what does that look like for us? Because yes, we know there's typically always somewhat of a little bit of a lag in education. So how are we taking into consideration what it is that we need to do here and now, but also thinking about towards the future? So one of the things that we know is knowledge is never going to go away. Yes, we may have better access to knowledge. And yes, there is wonderful things that have allowed us to have even more access to knowledge, not only to consume it, but also to be producers of it. But really thinking about what does that actually look like for us? So we know we have content level standards. We know we have our academic standards that we have to be accountable for. But then also coupled with this idea around what skill sets are truly timeless. What are those things that we can afford students with that they will still be able to be successful no matter what job facet or career pathway that they enter into? So with that in mind, it's this idea of creating, as they like to say, a T-shaped person. So it's really creating a balance between knowledge and skills. So how do we bring together authentic learning experiences for knowledge and skills combined? So the way that we are approaching that is what we know to be true. And that is really through hands-on inquiry, looking at this hands-on capacity so that we can support learning over and over throughout the different grade levels and various content areas as well. So we at LEGO Education, we are proud to support a continuum of learning. Something that you'll see on this screen isn't going to be completely comprehensive of what we have or what we support in terms of sets, but more so than anything, I want you to really, like I said, shift your perspective and realize and understand that it's not about the sets. It's about how we can use these as teaching and learning tools to, like I said, communicate ideas, to use them for prototyping, iteration, thinking, reflection, and so forth. So as part of that, we put all of these things together. What does this really look like for us? So we know we have this pathway where we're looking at not only how are we teaching computer science, but all of those different domains within that, thinking about IT and technology education, but then also taking in, yes, we're accountable for academic standards, specifically in those core disciplines. So thinking about ELA and math and science, right? And then also adding in this idea of that novelty and engagement that LEGO education affords for students and teachers alike. So how do we take these things and put them together to design learning experiences so we can deliver those strong learning outcomes? So that's really how we look at this intentionally and thoughtfully at LEGO education, to say, how do we take into account those academic standards that must be taught in those respective grade levels and courses? How do we take that novelty and engagement of our bricks that we know exist, but then we apply them in very meaningful and purposeful context? So that is truly our goal. So what does that actually look like? So we're going to dive into a little bit of what we would call our learning experiences. However, I will tell you, if we were all in person, we would allow the bricks to actually communicate and talk for themselves. But because we are in a virtual setting, the next best possible situation is a video clip, and it's going to give you a small glimpse into what some of those models and sets and the bricks themselves are able to do. So without further ado, I will introduce you to our LEGO learning system.
Preparing all students for an ever-changing world shaped by technology requires a new set of skills for both students and their teachers. The LEGO Learning System offers unlimited possibilities for playful, hands-on STEAM learning experiences that build confident creators and lifelong learners. Consisting of a range of interconnected solutions, the LEGO Learning System makes it easy to bring engaging, high-quality, standards-aligned lessons into all classrooms, across schools and throughout districts. This easy-to-adopt system offers solutions that work with or without the need for technology. BrickQ Motion builds a foundational understanding of physical science concepts as a purely hands-on solution, while Spike Essential and Spike Prime offer a comprehensive, technology-enhanced STEAM learning experience. Flexible scaffolding makes it easy for students and teachers to get started and move seamlessly from learning with one solution to the next. Students in lower grades will get excited about STEAM learning through playful investigation of simple STEAM concepts, while contributing to literacy, math, and social-emotional development. As they grow older, students will apply a deeper understanding of concepts and practices in science, engineering, computer science, and mathematics to develop creative solutions to complex problems, which are easily connected to real-world scenarios. Backed by research on learning through play and 40 years of experience, LEGO Education's learning system solutions complement each other and unlock deeper learning opportunities, helping to engage students in a learning journey that future-proofs their skills to become confident, lifelong learners.
So like I said, just a quick glimpse into what is possible with our various bricks and our solutions in action. So continuing on with that mindset, one of the things that is something that is unique in terms of not just simply the bricks themselves, but is the integration of our intelligent hardware supporting students with computer science alongside of technology education and IT. So one of the things that we have in conjunction with our bricks is going to be our intelligent hardware. So our intelligent hardware is going to work alongside of our bricks to actually be able to now go into different types of concepts, such as automation, thinking about input and output, thinking about data collection, data analysis, visualization. So really getting into different concepts by affording students the benefit of utilizing and being able to integrate hardware alongside of our bricks. So with that, if we have hardware, of course, that also means we must have software. So with the software, this allows for a wonderful and dynamic and intuitive conversation as it relates to our app that we have. So within the app, we're going to afford students the ability to start working on building out those coding skills and working on various computer science skill sets. So with that, you'll actually see on the slide, it shows the progression starting all the way with our youngest learners. In pre-K and in kindergarten, they'll be able to actually start working with physical manipulatives with our action bricks that will actually take in manual input based on the student's interaction with the various bricks themselves. And then, of course, we'll actually back into the icon, word blocks, and then text-based programming once you actually get into secondary. So it's intended to be something that builds over time as students increase their knowledge and sophistication within the platform as well. So some of the logistical things that we often get questions about, just because, of course, we're talking about working in different types of learning environments. So, of course, as a follow-up, we will make sure that we send this stuff out to you, but there is different type of tech specs. However, one of the things that we wanted to keep in mind is creating a seamless user experience for our different users, no matter what that may look like. We do operate on a variety of different devices, including desktops, laptops, Chromebooks, iPads, as well as one of the other things that is first and foremost in our mind is data privacy and making sure that students are safe and responsible as they use any type of technology. So we do not have any type of data sharing, no data collection on students. It does work with single sign-on. And we do have two different type of user experiences. So depending on how IT is facilitated within your learning environment, it either can be a downloadable version of our app, or there's also a completely functional web-based version of the app that you can absolutely use. And we have found great success either of the mechanisms, depending on which one is going to be most conducive for you. They are fully functional. They operate the same exact way. So like I said, either way, you're going to have a really great user experience. So once again, thinking about what are those learning experiences? So taking into consideration, what are those computer science standards? What are some of those ISTE standards, those digital skills and competencies that we want students to have? And especially in that elementary space where a lot of it has to be integrated into the core instructional day, what does that end up looking like for us? Whereas in secondary, course, a little bit of a different conversation as we have designated course codes and class periods that can address a lot of those things within that pathway around computer science and technology. So especially when we think about that elementary space, what does that end up looking like? I can tell you from robust user conversations, it looks several different ways. Sometimes it's integrated into a core content area. Sometimes it is a standalone specials area, if you will. There's no right or wrong way. The good news is we really think about how that all may transpire. So based on that, one of the things that we are constantly thinking about and considering is around that instructional design. So we want this to be used, not only something that's easy to use, but something that's ready to be used. So thinking about what do teachers need to be successful, but also anticipating students' needs so that they can also feel comfortable and confident utilizing our materials. So with that, we don't make assumptions that you have to be a Lego master builder in any way, shape, or form on the teacher side or on the student experience side. So we are going to make sure that there is entry points for all types of users, whether you've never touched bricks before, whether you've never coded something before. It's going to be scaffolded and intentionally put together so that everybody has an opportunity to not only participate fully, but also to be successful within that. So part of that, once again, kind of talking about those implementations, we have several different types of implementation models. Like I said, from before or after school, integrating into a core content area, dedicated courses. It looks very different depending on the type of implementation, which is really going to be specific to what your student and your district needs are. We do have tech-free options as well as those tech-enabled options, which we talked about a little bit. And like I said, as previously mentioned on that last slide, we are device and platform agnostic, just so we can kind of meet people where they are, depending on what you have available for student and teacher use. So going into this a little bit, just so you can kind of have a better understanding of what that would actually look like. We do follow a very consistent structure because we want to be able to deliver strong learning outcomes in computer science and technology, looking towards these different pieces. So starting with those standards, making sure it's very developmentally appropriate for students, thinking about the types of bricks, how many bricks we put in front of them, but really also thinking about how that's also going to scaffold and progress over time. So understanding that often we're talking that you have a class period or students that may only be with you for 45 minutes or less. How are we going to still afford opportunities for students to get in there, to have a building experience, to code something, to gather whatever that may be, whether it's data, whether it's an experiment, whatever type of learning experience it's being designed for, and then be able to still fully continue to move on through this. So the other part about this as well is this is going to be some additional of our units, specifically in one of our sets, just so you can kind of see our fun minifigures. It is something that we do lead with a narrative perspective. We do want students to get familiar with the great Spike Essential minifigures. So all of the units are actually going to be set up and based around having this opportunity to be led through a narrative perspective. So they're going to be poised with an actual problem that students are going to be faced with, and they're going to have a task and or their job is going to be to come up with a solution for a real world problem, utilizing those bricks and so forth and so on alongside of the hardware and the software. So this is going to be another set of the content. These are going to be specifically designed for that science integration piece that they are going to take into account those academic science standards, but then also there's going to be embedded focus around computer science and technology skills. Continuing on, this is going to be more for our secondary audience, but you will see this will be for Spike Prime. Very similar, however, once again, considering the developmentally appropriateness of this, it's going to increase in complexity and sophistication, not only with the type of coding that they're going to do, but the amount of hardware that they will be able to integrate. And then, of course, once again, making sure it's relevant for their grade level standards. We always say there's no such thing as too much content. So we're always constantly evolving and thinking about how else can we provide robust and intentional learning experiences for students. So there is additional pieces that are going to once again lean into affording students additional learning opportunities around different types of themes as well. So one of the things that we actually do have is we have different monthly CS challenges around debugging, remixing, thinking about different design perspectives. We also have things that are just going to be focused around career exploration. That's actually going to be with our Hannah STEAM Heroes with Rebuild the World. So actually looking at real world careers and then having build challenges that accompany them. So students have the opportunity to not only be exposed to different types of jobs within different types of career pathways, but then also once again to then have a hands-on learning experience accompanying that. Different types of things. I'll continue on because wait, there's more. So like I said, just different types of things that are be just bricks only in case you're not ready to automatically jump in with the hardware and software, but just really building upon what students are able to do and also aligning that with the desired outcomes for them specifically as we look at that. So thinking about that, our solutions fit in many different areas. I know computer science is always an interesting conversation alongside of IT and technology education. It lives in a lot of different places. Hence, we live in a lot of different places. So we have successfully been able to support implementations, not only in that before and after school space, but summer programs, very specifically CTE programs. We have core course offerings and elective courses that we're able to authentically integrate into. We also have that competition space. We live in STEM labs. And then we also have family engagement opportunities for our home and school connection. So like I said, lots of different things that we're able to do depending on how computer science, IT, and technology education ends up looking for you specifically. But it's just one facet of that conversation that we wanted to open hearts and minds to around possibilities as to how we can support. And this, last but not least, very time sensitive yet very opportune time to have a discussion. This is actually something very specifically to North Carolina, which we will send up as also as a follow-up. There is presently a grant opportunity. So often we are asked, you know, this sounds great. We would love to explore this more, but, you know, funding is tight, or I'm not sure if I have the dedicated funding for this. So this one is very timely, if you will. It's open presently. There is this really cool interactive map. When you go online, you can actually see not only which part of the map that your county or that geographical area is represented by, but then you will also be able to see the type of funding that's available to you. And as part of that, we are going to be sending out a technical assistance paper, not only just some of the different ways that we lean into these conversations around innovation, but ways, once again, to support strong learning goals and outcomes for whatever that may end up looking like, specifically for you in the great state of North Carolina. So that is a QR code. So if you have your phone available, you're welcome to pull that up immediately. Otherwise, do not worry. We will also be sending that out as a part of the follow-up. Otherwise, really wanted to be thoughtful and intentional about some of the things that we are able to do alongside of you in the great state of North Carolina. However, we do thank you for your time and energy, being thoughtful and intentional, and spending a little bit more time to learn a little bit more about us and how we can support computer science, IT, and technology for students. So hopefully you got some new bits of information and you were able to learn a little bit from us. But otherwise, like I said, there will be follow-up and some additional information to come from us.